morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. We are racing through World Ocean Week, so a huge happy World Ocean Week to everyone. We know World Ocean Day is coming up on the 8th, but we're doing it a little bit early this year to coincide with World Ocean Week happening with the Explorers Club in New York this week. So we have a great lineup of explorers, of researchers, filmmakers, conservationists, all sharing their stories of exploring our ocean. So bringing back stories of the beauty of the ocean, how it really is fragile and how we're impacting it, but then those really good news stories, conservation stories, solutions, communities working together. So we're getting a lot of those stories this week as well. So if you head to exploringbytheseat.com, we have a ton of live action coming up. In fact, I'm hosting a triple header right now. So I've got Nicole Stott joining us. We're going to have her just in a second. Her Deepness, Sylvia Earle, will be with us at 10. And then we're going to have Gabby join us. And we're going to talk sharks at 11 o'clock. So it is a jam-packed morning of ocean action. And if your classes can stick around, I think you'll really enjoy the lineup of speakers. So let's get right into the action today. So we're going to be hanging out with Nicole Stott. She's explored from the heights of outer space to the depths of our ocean. A veteran NASA astronaut, her experience includes 2 space flights and 104 days living and working in space, both with the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station. She's also a NASA Aquanaut. So to prepare for the space flight, she was with the Nemo 9 crew, living and working underwater for 18 days in the Aquarius undersea habitat, which is pretty cool. Nicole's also an astronaut. So retired from NASA now, she's combining her artwork and her space flight experience to inspire creative thinking about solutions to our planetary challenges. And she's doing this through her Space for Art Foundation. So let's reach backstage. Let's get Nicole in here. Hey, Nicole, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Always fun to be here, Joe.
All right. I'm just noticing your tagline down at the bottom. We got a AAA going, astronaut, aquanaut, artist. Pretty cool.
I know. I didn't plan it that way. It just happened.
All right. Well, we have a great crew joining us today from Canada and the US. Some of them are hanging out backstage. Others are waiting on YouTube to send in some questions. So if you are on YouTube, don't be shy. Use the chat sidebar. Let us know where you're tuning in from and put your questions up there as well. But Nicole, we would love to dive into your world for a little bit before we get to the Q&A action.
Okay, awesome. Well, I do have some slides that I'm going to run through really quickly. And I know that a lot of times, we get the question of, what's this astronaut doing on a presentation where we're talking about the ocean? And that's really what I'd like to show you a little bit of today is how, interconnected we all are. And so I'm going to go over to my presentation and start with a slide. Let's make sure I can make it big. That this is hopefully all of you followed along with the Artemis 2 mission that happened recently. And this is a picture that came back from that. It's very, reminiscent to me of that iconic Earthrise image we had over 50 years ago. But holy moly, I think there's nothing better to remind you, first of all, that we live on a planet in space, but the contrast between the moon and Earth, just this reality check of the fact that we live on an ocean planet in space. That's pretty compelling, pretty powerful to think about. And so keep that in mind as we're talking about this whole thing today. And for me, to be able to share this connection between what we as astronauts joke about as inner space to outer space, going to train how to live and work underwater in an undersea habitat that's been built to support life there, to what it's going to be like to live and work in outer space on a spaceship that's been built to support life. And both of these are places that aren't meant for us to just live on our own. So we have, like in these pictures you see, as an aquanaut, you have to wear special equipment if you're going outside. Same thing as an astronaut. And there's so many parallels to it that are perfect. But I'm going to show you really quickly this video. It gives you a little scoop on the Aquanaut experience, and then it takes you some highlights of my 2 space flights. I flew twice. My first flight was a longer duration mission, about 4 months on the International Space Station. And my second flight was the final flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery. And we went back to the station, but it was only for about 2 weeks, which, I mean, they had to pull my clawing hands off the hatch to get me back. It was not long enough. It's a really extraordinary place. And then just some quick clips of Florida from space. I'm talking to you from Florida right now. When I went to space, I thought of Florida as my home, but holy moly, looking out the window, you realize how Florida is part of this ocean planet that's our home. So, all right, really quickly. Oh, we didn't get the Aquanaut.
2, 1.
Are you clear, Nicole?
Okay, coming out.
And Pat, I can verify that 2 handles down from one of the voice jets.
Okay.
And these are just shots of Florida from space. As you can see, there's Florida on a planet, ocean planet. I think they're just gorgeous. And for me, it reminds me of thinking about where I was in space as my home, about thinking about Florida as my home, but definitely this really important lesson of, the fact that we all live on a planet that's our home. And this is a shot of lightning storms from space. You can see that glow around the Earth is our atmosphere, very super thin veil around the planet. But I always thought about lightning storms happening over the top of me. And when they were gone, they were gone. But man, from there, you just watch it wrapping around the planet and seeing how interconnected everything is. It looked like little neurons firing in your brain. So, all right, we're going to go to the next thing here. Whoop, one more time. So for some reason, I don't know why the little clip of Aquarius wasn't in there, but we got a little bit to show you here. So, we build our space stations so that we can survive in that place, right? So that we have clean drinking water, clean air to breathe, can just move around in our regular clothes instead of having to be in a spacesuit all the time. And while on the space station, we're 300 miles above the planet. On the Aquarius undersea habitat, we're 60 feet underwater, and yet we still need to have a place where we can breathe and have clean drinking water and all of that. And so that's what the habitat itself does for us. And you can see a picture of it in the top left. That it's about the size of an old school bus. And it's a really super cool place to get to live. And as a crew, we spend a lot of time outside, but we want to have this experience together. So we learn how to work as a really good team. That's what a good crew is a good team. And we want to capture that in photos. And so we take that, a tradition is always to get a crew photo on any mission. And that bottom right picture, I love it because I think, and hopefully you're already finding it in school or the sporting things you do or activities that you are involved with, that the best people to hang out with are the ones you're going to have a good time with, right? You're going to enjoy where you are, whether you're on an undersea habitat or on a space station or in your classroom. You should enjoy the people that you're with. And at the same time, you should also know that if things aren't going as planned, that you're each going to have each other's backs, right? So when things aren't going right, you're going to support each other. And that's what I felt from both my undersea and my outer space crews, and great people to work with. And I don't know if you noticed in that bottom right picture, we have these little clown noses on. And that's because one of the gentlemen that was with us he bought a ride to the space station, really great guy. And he was the founder of Cirque du Soleil. His name's Guy Laliberté, and he considered himself a clown. So he brought us all these clown noses to wear. And whether you're underwater, under inner space or outer space, you're going to work outside. So on the Aquarius habitat, we had our dives that we treated just like we were on a spacewalk on the space station. And it was amazing how close that experience was, whether it was this kind of a lot of equipment on, you've got to really be careful about what you're doing when you go outside, this communication you're having with your crew on the inside or your ground or topside support team, really important to stay in touch with your crewmates. Of course, on the space station, it's all about the science. We built it as a science laboratory. So on the left, you can see a couple things going on in the space station, and we were doing the same kind of thing on the undersea habitat too, learning and in an environment that's very different to what we normally have right here on Earth. A lot of robotic activities as well. On Aquarius, we had an undersea ROV rover that we used. We happened to be down there at Easter, so we had our Easter bunny with us. And then a big part of the robotics on the space station is the Canada arm that helps us move equipment. And you can see me strapped to the end of it too, helps equipment and people around on the outside of the space station. And then one of the big questions I always get is, how do you go to the bathroom in space? And then when they find out you've lived underwater, they want to know the same thing. And the potties are interesting. It's amazing how quickly we adapt to different kinds of even strange environments, whether you're having to swim out and pop your head up inside of what we call the gazebo on the Aquarius habitat, or you're floating while you're going to the bathroom. It's amazing how quickly we can figure it out. Of course, hopefully through the video, you saw some pretty pictures and imagery. We are in awe of what surrounds us. I hope you guys every day are in awe of what surrounds you and that you're paying attention to it. When aquanauts and astronauts have free time, their face is in front of a window. And it's extraordinary what you can discover about what's going on around you and below you when you take the time to really open your heart and your mind to what is around you every day. Now, that kind of awesomeness really inspired me to want to share it, to express it in a different way. So on Aquarius, I created artwork associated with the way the habitat looked. It wasn't just this school bus like habitat in the ocean. It had actually become part of the ocean. And so the coral and sponges and fishes all wanted to be on that, like an artificial reef as well. So I took some pictures of that underside of the Aquarius habitat and then painted that. While I was in space, I did a watercolor painting of this really beautiful island that looked like a wave. had been painted on it already down on the northern coast of South America. And then recently I had the opportunity to actually paint underwater in the water at this extraordinary reef called Hope in Indonesia, and some special paints and cool setup there. And I think it's important for us to consider all of the things we love, whether we love science or art or both. You know, you need to keep it going, use your whole brain to help express yourself and solve problems. And from space, you know, another one of these connections between sea and space, or our planet in space, is that a lot of what we're doing in space right now, whether it's from the space station or it's satellites orbiting our planet, these systems are measuring the vital signs of Earth. They're measuring the vital signs of our planet, and it's providing us with all the really cool, I mean, and I would argue beautiful information about how our planet works and where there might be issues on Earth, and allowing us to use that data to solve those problems. And I love that it helps us better understand the connection between our own health, our personal health, and our planet's health, how interconnected that really is. And then, you know, it's as you go through life, you guys are young, but hopefully you're already experiencing some of it, where the stuff you love, that you enjoy doing, whether it's, for me, it was flying and being in space and working with people who were doing stuff in space and undersea, and then art and being able to bring that all together. And I've found that by paying attention to what you're really curious about and exploring that and meeting other people that are interested in those things, it's incredible the opportunities that open up for you, the partnerships that you will find along the way, that for me have allowed me to get involved with things I never imagined that I would be part of. Painting with kids all around the world and doing kind of art, space-themed art therapy projects, and creating ocean experiences on a big screen in London, or diving and helping with coral restoration on that Hope Reef in Indonesia, a part of Earth that I never even imagined being in, but then getting to be not just there, but exploring and helping solve some of our planetary challenges. It's really interesting to see how what you love can grow into something really special. And then, you know, Ocean Week is going on. My friends in Jersey are, and like Joe with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants and many others, we want to celebrate the fact that we live on an ocean planet in space. We want to remind people how important that is to consider in our daily lives. And so you can do really cool stuff, like having these conversations online and with different classrooms, creating artwork to express what is going on, and getting involved with conservation projects. It's really amazing how we can be part of all of that. And then in the end, just to wrap it up, because I'm really excited about doing the Q&A, you know, we go to space or we explore undersea, and it is really complicated to do that. But somehow as human beings, we figure it out. And in all of it, though, we are human beings. And some of the simple things that we learn from those kinds of experiences are stuff you guys already know right now from what you've learned in your classroom and from your parents and from what you've done in life already, is that, and I think it's really important to keep these things in mind every day, is that we live on a planet. We live on an ocean planet in space, and that we're all Earthlings, and that the only border that matters is that, and you can see it in this picture, that veil thin blue line of atmosphere that blankets and protects us all. It's like we're on a spaceship. We're on this planetary spaceship. And that thin blue line is pretty much the same as that metal hull I had on my space station, protecting me from that black vacuum of space. And how important it is for us to accept our role as crewmates on our planetary spaceship, not passengers, and how that can help us create a future for all life on Earth that's as beautiful as it looks from space. And I'm going to wrap this up with one more picture from that Artemis 2 mission. I love it. I think there's no denying who and where we all are in space together from this picture. There's no denying that we live on an ocean planet in space. And look at that beautiful glow around our Earth. And they even, I mean, extraordinary. On both sides of the planet, they caught some aurora, which is just stunning. So that's it for me, Joe, that way. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to follow your directions. I'm going to close this because we don't need it anymore.
Okay.
Save, and then I'm going to come back here. Does that work?
Look at that. Flawless sharing of the screen. Amazing, Nicole.
You want me to hit stop share?
No. I was just saying it.
You got it good. Okay. All right.
We had it perfect today. No issues. The tech was with us.
And what Joe was saying that I normally have issues with getting that screen set up.
No, it was great. So cool. Those Artemis 2 photos. I had the opportunity, the Canadian Space Agency invited me to Ottawa when the 4 were there a few weeks ago. And so we got to hear some stories and see some amazing pictures. Such a cool mission. And I love how it got people so excited about space and our planet.
Me too. And they picked 4 special people to make that happen. And what I love and what I hope everybody noticed was how human it was, right? I mean, even NASA, who you think of as just this science techie organization, all of the space agencies, they were really excited about sharing the human experience of it the whole way through. I mean, I felt like if I had the time to be online, I could be following right along with them the whole time.
Yeah, very, very cool. Yeah. Okay, so Q&A action. If you are in the chat sidebar, don't be shy to use that chat sidebar. I see some groups already saying hi in New York and Nicaragua. So let's get those questions coming in. In fact, let's grab a first one from here before we get some camera classes. So Nicole, how long was your career with NASA as an astronaut? How long were you with NASA?
I was with NASA, gosh, almost 30 years, for 28 years. And I started out as an engineer at the Kennedy Space Center, working on the Space Shuttle and the Space Station program, helping get those vehicles ready to fly. And yeah, I was there for about 10 years. And then I, somewhere along the way, got the bug for applying to be an astronaut and did that. Didn't get picked the first time I interviewed. So I went and worked for a couple years at the Johnson Space Center, flying on this really cool airplane called the Shuttle Training Aircraft that we had modified to be able to kind of train the astronauts how to land the space shuttle. That was awesome. And then in the year 2000, I know it seems like a long time ago, I got selected to be a NASA astronaut and then got to fly in space a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. It is an incredibly competitive process. So I think, your story as well is a great story of, a lot of people after that first time might've been like, oh no, not for me. It's not going to work out. But
no, don't let that. And I would say, don't let the idea of it being competitive stop you. Initially I kind of was in that place. I had to talk to people to even feel like I should pick up the pen. Right. Yeah. And look now, one of our most experienced NASA astronauts, Peggy Whitson, who's now working at another company flying private missions. I can't remember. She applied at least 4 times. And Don Pettit, who just flew, and when he landed, he had his 70th birthday. I mean, he applied like 7 times or something. I mean, it's something that I think you don't let the nature of it stop you from applying. But what I would say is you need to have something really that you're really excited about going on in parallel with that application process, because that in the end is what NASA is going to look for. Or I would say that the Canadian Space Agency or others are going to look for is this person really excited about what they're doing? Could they do that? Could they keep doing that and be excited about it and bringing to life things that benefit all of us? I mean, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. And I think that's one cool thing that's changed over time is back in the Apollo missions, it was fighter pilots, test pilots that they were looking for. But now they want scientists and geologists and medicine and a whole variety of specialties and careers can get your foot in the door. now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to just keep opening up that way. And human spaceflight, I don't know what the secret sauce is, but human spaceflight has been this welcoming, understanding of how we all bring something really important to the table. And even outside of the, like what you studied at school or your career, when we sit around the table and interview you, and I felt the same thing when I was being interviewed, is like, they want to understand, they want to know that I like painting. They want to know that I enjoy scuba diving, or the things that don't seem like the sciencey techie stuff. They want to understand you as a human being, to be able to say, would I want to live for an extended period of time with this person in a relatively confined space? They want to get a sense of you and your personality as well,
Yeah.
and how you behave with other humans. And so it's the whole brain thing. Yeah.
All right. Let's get some faces in here. Let's hear some voices. So I'm going to grab our third graders in North Bay, Ontario. How are we doing, third graders?
Hi.
Third graders.
All right. We're ready for you.
My name is Javal. I'm from North Bay. And have you had any dangerous experiences?
Well, nice to meet you. And have I had any dangerous experiences? I think some people, like my mom, would argue that just launching on a rocket or living underwater for an extended period of time is a dangerous experience. And in some ways it is, right? I mean, on a rocket ship, you got all this exploding rocket fuel underneath you, and underwater, you're living in a way that's so different to how we live day to day, that it's a little bit dangerous. But that's what's so cool about us as human beings, is we look at what those risks are and what the danger is, and we figure out how to manage it as best we can, right? And it doesn't always work, sadly, it doesn't always work, but we are doing our best to what's humanly possible to be safe in those places. And on the space station, I had a couple emergency alarms go off. Thankfully, it wasn't really a problem, but it's really cool to see how, when you train as a team, and I would argue the same thing happens underwater, if something goes wrong, first of all, you're having each other's back, you're making sure everybody's taken care of, and then you get your vehicle into a safe configuration, and then you figure out what went wrong, right? And it's really impressive to see how we do that kind of thing. So thanks for the question. It's hopefully you're doing this for each other, in your classroom every day too, taking care of each other. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Jamal.
How much times have you went under the water in the sea?
So lots of times, I really love scuba diving. So whenever I can, I will try to find a trip or friends that want to go on a dive trip. So, a lot when it just comes to scuba diving. And when we were training to be astronauts, to do spacewalks, we spent a lot of time diving in this big pool to learn how to do spacewalks. So we were either scuba diving there or in the big, white spacesuit. And that was hundreds of dives doing that kind of thing. But for the undersea, like living underwater for an extended period of time, when I was there for 18 days, that was just once. And, and I can tell you that Joe and I talk every time we get on this call and prep, when we're getting things ready, we're talking about how can we go do another one of those, long duration undersea missions. And there's new habitats being built that might make that possible. So only once for a long duration undersea thing, but loads of times. And I highly encourage it. I highly recommend, at a minimum, get your face in the water and see what's going on under the surface of the water, and experience that if you can. It's really wonderful.
All right, North Bay. Thanks for those great questions. I'm going to tuck you backstage for now, but be ready with another one. We're going to try and visit again before we wrap up. So Miss Erickson and Madden's crew, how are you doing today?
Good.
Awesome.
My name is Cole, and I'm from Somers, Connecticut, and I have a question.
Go, Cole.
Can you see tornadoes in space?
Can you see tornadoes in space? Wow, I need to write that down. I've never had that question. I don't ever remember seeing a tornado itself, like, oh, that's a tornado. But you see like these patterns of clouds and weather on the earth that, had me thinking, I wonder if that is a tornado, because it just looks so mixed up, the way the clouds were and the way the, like dust patterns in the atmosphere and stuff. What you see really well is hurricanes. Like you can watch hurricanes just move across the ocean. And it's weird because they look really beautiful from there. They look like this big white fluffy swirling, and it does have an eye like this clear center in the middle. And you could hardly imagine what it's looking like on the other side, because I don't think, and having gone through some here in Florida, you would not say that a hurricane is beautiful, but you see hurricanes really well from space. Thanks.
Thanks, Cole. We have another question there, third graders.
I do.
All right.
Introduce yourself.
My name's Emma, and I'm wondering how heavy the spacesuits are.
Oh, great question, Emma. So down here on Earth, one of those big white spacesuits weighs about 300 pounds. So and so they don't let us just walk around in them or anything. We're always in a stand somehow when we put them on, or if we have to come off, people help us. But most of the time they actually hook you up to a crane and lift you when you're in that big spacesuit down here on Earth. And then once they get you in the pool to train in it, because you're trying to pretend like you're in space, they do something like trying to get you as neutrally buoyant as possible so that you're not floating up to the surface or sinking down to the bottom. So they put foam in different places on the suit, and they put weights in different places so that they can try to get you as neutral as possible. In space, though, what's so great is that it doesn't feel like it weighs anything. I mean, you could just move effortlessly inside of this suit. The problem is they have to put this air pressure inside so that we can still breathe and stay alive inside the suit. So all the time you're working against this pressure in the suit. Even in your gloves, it's pressurized. So every movement you make is against this pressure. And that's where you get tired in the big spacesuit when you're doing a spacewalk. And it's kind of funny, on the space station, they really should call it a space crawl, because you're not really walking anywhere. You're kind of pulling yourself with your hands around, you're floating and that kind of thing. When we go back to the moon, we'll be walking or bouncing again on the moon. But on the space station, you're floating and crawling. So it's kind of funny, but you really use your hands a lot. And that can really, it's amazing how just using your hands against pressure can tire you out so much. But great question. Yeah, 300 pounds.
Yeah, all right. Great questions. We're going to try to come back to grab another one before we sign off for today. I'm going to jump back to YouTube here. Elena's hanging out with us. And when you visited the Hope Reef, what kind of coral did you see?
Oh my gosh, all kinds of coral. So the Hope Reef is, I think it's still considered the largest coral restoration project in the world. And it started with, a group there that wanted to, even a local community that wanted to restore their reef. They had done, for the longest time in Indonesia, they've been using kind of explosive fishing techniques to get the fish to come to the surface. And it does work great to get the fish to come to the surface, but sadly, it destroys the reef structure when that happens. And so then you don't have any fish to go fishing for anymore. And so this reef was just rubble, like white rubble that they brought back. And one of the people that was involved was the guy, Noel, who came up with, and you might have seen these if you pay attention to any kind of reef restoration activities, these kind of rebar metal structures, these coral frames that they use to restore reefs now. And they tie little pieces of coral off to them, and then they all grow together. And holy moly, it was branching coral and, and kind of what you think of as brain or the massive rock corals, and then sponges coming to life. And I have never seen anything like it. The mass of color and variety and just life that existed in this place that was just white rubble 10 years ago. It's extraordinary. And so look it up. It's really cool. We had, before we went down, we're like, I wonder if you can see this from space, and you can. So I've had my friends on the station look for it now too. But we had Planet Labs, which is one of the Earth observation satellite companies, take a picture of the Hope Reef for us before we went down. And so, and the scientists were excited about that too, right? They were able to see things in an expansive way they couldn't get even from drones and stuff. So really beautiful place. Look it up, Hope Reef, and you'll see it spells hope from, out of the reef. Really cool.
Very cool. Mrs. Cybelli's third graders, let's get you in here. We have a third grade heavy camera crew today. Lots of third graders hanging out today.
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go.
Hi, my name's Olivia, and I live in Summers, Connecticut. What's your favorite part about being in the sea and in space?
Oh, wow. Olivia, your shirt, is that like a realist? You're the realist. My favorite part, the people were one of my favorite parts. Like being able to share that really cool experience with people from all over the world. I think it was so special to have that happen. But I cannot deny that just like undersea and in space, there was something about being surrounded by Earth in a way that we just aren't on a day-to-day basis, right? Like being immersed. It felt like I was immersed in the planet, like that the Earth surrounded me when I'm undersea. And I got to experience it and see it in a way that I hadn't before. And then the same thing was true in space. Like, wow, now I'm above it. I'm kind of wrapped around it, and I can experience it and see it and appreciate it in a way that I hadn't before. But what I also love about both of those experiences is that it's really opened up my heart and my mind to just looking around me, standing here on the planet, looking around me in a different way all the time, appreciating the awesomeness that surrounds us. And so I hope that you'll do that too. You don't have to go to space. You don't have to go undersea to appreciate how amazing, incredible this planet is that we have, that keeps us alive and supports us, and how important it is for us to be crewmates, on our planetary spaceship. And so I think that's the biggest thing as I ramble on about it.
Wesley.
Thank you, Lydia.
Hi, my name is Wesley. How do you drink water in space because of gravity?
Wesley, good question. So, water, it's super fun. So we don't have cups to drink out of, although my friend Don Pettit has come up with kind of a cool design to let you kind of drink out of a cup. I think that'll evolve over time and be pretty neat. We drink water, we are either sucking the water out of a bag with, kind of a big metal, this aluminum bag with a straw at the end of it. We either drink it straight out of the straw from the bag, or you make it more fun and you squirt out little floating balls of water. And then you can just kind of suck that ball of water out of the air to drink. But I think it's such an interesting way to look at what it's like to just live in a place where everything floats. Because you're floating, your water's floating, or your water bag is floating. If you don't have my hair tied back, it's floating. Everything floats. And so not having gravity in that place, or, this microgravity environment where we just keep falling around the Earth, the scientists love it because we can look at things in a whole new way than we can when we're, kind of getting pulled down to the floor. And we love it because we get to float and fly and, live in a, imagine right now you could just gently push on the floor and you'd float up to the ceiling. You could flip and it's really awesome. And it's everybody thinks it's going to be more difficult because of that. And it is a little bit at first, but it's just different. You just have to get adapted to the environment. And now floating and flying just seems normal. So, I highly recommend it, but drinking water or anything else that you get to drink up there is really super fun. Maybe do an astronaut trip.
One more.
All right.
Hi, my name is Ava. How long can you stay in space for?
Oh, hi, Ava. And good question. So we're kind of showing that you can stay in space as long as your spaceship works, as long as you have clean air to breathe. And clean water to drink, and you're protected from the environment around you. And probably stay there. I mean, we've got people staying there for a year at a time on the space station now. When we go back to the moon and we settle there and plan to be there on a permanent basis, people are going to be maybe even live their whole life there for sure if we do that on Mars. But we've got to turn it in to like a spaceship. We've got to turn it into a place. We got to mimic. We got to pretend it's almost like Earth so that we can survive in that place. And then we've got to, like on the space station, because we float, our bones and our muscles don't have to work for us the same way. So we have to be very careful about making sure that we exercise 2 hours a day and we keep our bones and our muscles strong so that we can survive and stay, not just live there, but be healthy while we're there too. So that's kind of the biggest problem, is we stay healthy while we're living in that place. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to grab a couple more camera classrooms, but I'm going to grab one more question here from YouTube. It's an art question, Nicole. When did you really start getting passionate or excited about art?
I don't know. I think from when I was really young, my mom always took me to I grew up in the 60s, 70s, and that was the days of macrame and hooked rugs and pottery. And I know. And my mom would just take me and my sister with her and, let us just play around. And while I never took like really any formal art classes, I always enjoyed, and I consider this part of art too, I always enjoyed building things and taking things apart and playing with them and seeing how they worked. And my dad built and flew small airplanes when I was growing up. And so he let me play with the tools and help paint the airplane and stuff like that. And I thought that's all just really creative stuff. But the real painting and watercolors, and that was probably college timeframe. And then I kind of played around with it and got really back into it after I flew and was able to paint while I was in space. It really, I don't know, there was something about art as a way that allows me to connect with people that sometimes don't even know there is a space station, right? And it's really nice to be able to share that backstory, whether they like my art or not. But I really encourage people, if you like music or art or anything kind of extracurricular, keep it going, because it helps you solve problems better. I mean, I feel like my art helps me when I'm swimming or diving. I feel like I'm appreciating where I am in a different way too. And yeah, love that I had that opportunity, and very grateful to my mom and dad for sharing what they loved with me too, because it helped me, explore more what I was curious about.
Yeah. All right. Let's squeeze in two more here. So third graders in North Bay, let's grab another question.
How hard was it to paint in space?
Oh my gosh. It was, at first it seemed really hard because everything floats, everything floats. So your brush floats, your paint floats, you float. So it was a really wonderful example to me of how we have to live in that place where you have to just keep track of all of your stuff, which is why Velcro we are huge fans of Velcro. And then it was more just figuring it out, like that the water floats. So I have to dip my brush into a floating ball of water and watching how the water and the brush interacted. You can look up something called surface tension. It was weird. It could have been a really wonderful science lesson, I think, to videotape the painting in space and how the brush interacted with the paper. It was all just really different. But in the end, it wasn't more difficult. It was just challenging at first because I'd never done it before. And then you figure it out, and then it's just super fun. Yeah. So when you go to space, paint with watercolors and activate your brain cells like I did, and videotape the whole thing so we can share it with everyone. Okay. All right. Thanks. And then call me and take me with you.
All right. Very cool.
Thanks,
you. Bud. Here we go. Back to crew with Miss Erickson and Madden.
Hi, my name is Layla, and what inspired you to go to space?
Oh, Layla, thanks. A lot of things, I think. I had the chance to work at Kennedy Space Center where we were getting the shuttles ready to fly and stuff. And I got to know what astronauts did, and the work that they do was really interesting to me. Don't get me wrong, the adventure side of it, launching on a rocket, flying in space, all seemed really amazing too. But I think the biggest thing, and I was a little bit older, I think the biggest thing about it was discovering that everything we're doing in space, in one way or another, is ultimately about improving life on Earth. And that was, that was kind of the thing that pushed it over the edge, that really made me reach out to my mentors and say, what do you think about this? You know, astronaut, it seems like a long shot, but should I? And then they hand me the pen. I mean, that one thing really was the clincher for me. I mean, I was always excited about how things fly in space, and I had watched people walk on the moon, and I was like, wow, this is super cool. But I never really thought about it necessarily for me until I realized what it was really all about. And that, just like this conversation we're having today, and the fact that we have Ocean Week, I mean, it's about this appreciation for our planet as our home, and how we become part of the crew that helps keep it going, right? Just like we do on our spaceships that are machines in space. We've got to be part of keeping it going, being crewmates on our planetary spaceship. And that's what got me really excited about it.
All right. Great question. Okay. Well, Nicole, we are at that time, unless that's someone sneaking up to ask another one. Nope, maybe not. Okay. Very cool. Well, I want to start off like we always do with a huge shout out to the classrooms. It's always great to have a great crew backstage, a great crew hanging out on YouTube and sending in questions. And then there'll be more classrooms who will tune in throughout the day and the week who weren't able to make it live. So thank you so much for being with us, boys and girls. That's great. And then Nicole, it's always a pleasure to steal some of your time to talk about space, to talk about the ocean, to talk about art, to talk about what it means to be a good citizen here on planet Earth. So just great to spend a little time with you, Nicole.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for always including me. And I appreciate the classrooms and the questions. I actually had some I'd never had before today. So really enjoy that as well, and look forward to the next time.
All right. Well, we hope to see more classrooms with us today and tomorrow with the rest of our World Ocean Week events. But let's get a few faces back in here. If you guys want to get loud, a big goodbye and thank you. Everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the week. We're going to sign off for now.
See ya.
All right. There we go.